Hello everyone, welcome back to Iron Shield Media. Today we're taking a close look at the formidable war machine of Russia under Vladimir Putin and how that machine is increasingly bleeding the country dry, not just on the battlefield, but in the heart of Russia's economy and society. We'll explore how the exterior show of strength hides deeper cracks, how the internal mechanics of a war-driven economy are affecting performance, the safety features, or rather the lack of safeguards, what unique selling points the Kremlin claims for this war economy, the enormous price being paid, and what that all means for the future. So let's dive right in. When you first look at the exterior of Russia's war machine, it is impressive. Columns of tanks, missile launchers, parades of troops in immaculate uniform. This is the vision the Kremlin wants to project. Russia has committed very large shares of its national resources to its military and industrial base. According to recent reports, Russia's defense spending has reached levels of 6–8% of GDP, and defense and security combined may account for up to 40% of budgetary spending. Foreign Affairs +4, Carnegie Endowment +4, Business Insider +4, the visible hardware, the fast-paced production lines, the export of arms, all feed into a narrative of Russia as a global military power. Ready and resolute, the state shows off modernized systems, emphasizes self-reliance under sanctions, and highlights new weapons production. For external watchers and internal audiences alike, the message is Russia is strong, Russia is capable, Russia is determined. The exterior thus functions as both a message of deterrence and legitimacy. But beyond the spectacle, the interior of the system tells a very different story. Inside Russia's economy, the war has forced a massive reallocation of resources. Factories that once produced civilian goods are being converted to military output, labor is being diverted, and financial flows are increasingly dominated by defense spending. As one analysis notes, the war economy began with huge injections of cash. The rapid increase in output drove up demand for labor, ECDs, that may sound good in the short term, jobs, orders, mobilization, but the civilian economy is being squeezed. Reports show that many non-defense sectors have contracted, supply chains are under strain, inflation is rising, and investment in civilian industries has dropped. Al Jazeera +2, Chatham House +2, the interior engine of the war economy is running, but the gears of the broader economy are grinding. When it comes to performance, the results are mixed and increasingly worrying. On one hand, the defense sector is still operating, production of weapons and ammunition continues. Russia maintains its military presence and capability. According to one report, Russia has kept its economy afloat partly through the militarized state model and through leveraging energy exports. Chatham House +1, on the other hand, growth rates have slowed. The civilian part of the economy is either flat or declining. For example, in 2025, one estimate suggested the civilian economy had contracted by over 5%. Al Jazeera +1, inflation remains high, interest rates are elevated, private investment is hesitant, and the structural distortion of the economy toward defense at the expense of everything else is becoming the defining feature. As one analyst writes, what made it possible to return to a civilian model is impossible without huge shocks. Carnegie Endowment. So while the war machine continues to churn, the broader engine of economic health is faltering. In terms of safety features or safeguards built into an economy facing wartime strain, Russia appears to have some buffers, but they are being drawn down. Prior to full-scale invasion, Russia had built up reserves, tightened fiscal policy, reduced external debt, and built a Fortress Russia model. Chatham House, but those buffers cannot hold indefinitely. The shift of more and more of the economy into the war sector means that civilian enterprises, labor markets, investment, and the consumer side are at risk. One major risk is that if military spending is reduced or redirected too quickly, it will produce shocks because so much of the economy now depends on it. Carnegie Endowment, another risk is inflation and social discontent as ordinary incomes lag and the cost of living rises. The risk of domestic instability grows. Thus, the safety features are limited, strong on defense readiness, weak on long-term civilian sustainability. What are the unique selling points of this war-based economy as the Kremlin presents them? For one, the argument is that heavy defense spending and the war economy provide employment and industrial revival. especially in regions neglected earlier. The state can claim that it is mobilizing the nation, ramping up production, creating jobs, and showing strength. For example, some military-industrial enterprises offered higher wages to attract workers in provincial towns. The argument is that the war economy is a source of national purpose, a demonstration of resilience in the face of sanctions and isolation, and a commitment to Russia's status as a global power. It sends a signal Russia will not bend under pressure. It also serves domestic propaganda. The narrative is that external forces are opposed to Russia, and only through this mobilization can the country survive and thrive. That is a powerful selling point in domestic politics. But of course, every selling point has a price. And here is where the steep cost becomes visible. The price is being paid in multiple dimensions financially, socially, structurally. Financially, Russia's military spending, diversion of bank credit to the defense sector, reduced investment in civilian sectors, higher taxes and quasi-taxes, and the drawdown of reserves all indicate mounting costs. Al Jazeera +1 socially, the burden falls on ordinary Russians through inflation, labor shortages in civilian roles, declining standards of living for many, and a heavier role of the state in daily life. Structurally, the risk is that Russia's economy is becoming locked into a war economy model which may not function well in peacetime and may be difficult to unwind. According to one source, reducing external threats will, in theory, make it possible to return defense spending to levels that are safe for the economy. But that will have to be done gradually, just such a reversal will inevitably lead to a decrease in GDP. Carnegie Endowment, in other words, by choosing this path, Russia may be storing up trouble for the future. What does this all mean for Russia's future? The conclusion is sobering. The exterior may still look strong, but the internal foundations are under strain. The war machine is not cost-free. It is draining Russia's economy. The civilian economy is paying the price, and the buffers are diminishing. If the war drags on, the strains will deepen. If the war ends, the challenge of transitioning away from a war-dominant economy will be steep and painful. Unless Russia finds new sources of growth, diversifies its economy, and restructures the labor and industrial base, the risk of prolonged stagnation or worse is real. In conclusion, the story of Russia's war machine is one of paradox. On the surface, military strength, mobilization, arms production, and projection of power. Beneath, an economy increasingly tilted toward war, civilian sectors being neglected, structural vulnerabilities mounting, the war machine is indeed bleeding Russia dry. Not in one dramatic collapse yet, but through persistent systemic drain. For viewers curious about geopolitics, economics, power, and fate, this is a critical moment, a reminder that wars are not just fought on battlefields, but in factories, banks, homes, and budgets. Thanks for joining me on Iron Shield Media. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, share, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Russia can sustain this model, or will economics force change? Until next time.